I hope you're doing well. Happy Monday. How are you doing today? I know it's a little late. Normally I come around noon or 2 p.m., but I thought we'll do things a little bit differently today. Today I am joined by my co-host and bestie. You want to introduce yourself, P?
Hi, I'm Paris. Nice to meet you guys.
So, if you're familiar with my YouTube channel, we do a couple of different series on my YouTube channel. But today, since this is our stress management well chat, I thought we would talk about stress and parenting. And as you know, I'm not a parent, but I have a parent online, and we're going to talk about the stressors of parenting and ways that you can eliminate stress or practice stress management. Yeah?
Okay.
All right. So you want to start by talking about what are the stressors? Well, let's start here. What are the top three stressors that you have as a parent?
Mm,
And what are the top three stressors that you believe most parents have in common?
okay. So for me, I have two children, and my children have age gap, a 5 year age gap. So I kind of deal with children in different ways. One's a little bit older and more independent, so I'm dealing more with like establishing chores and routine and attitude adjustments. While my younger child, I have to, be more hands on because they need me to, to change their clothes and to help them eat and everything with that. So, one of the main stresses, of course, is like time management. It's about like having enough time to accomplish what you need to do and also take care of what you need to do with your child. But also, I think for me, another stressor is also making sure I'm having time to like actually spend with my child. So I'm not always in the parent space that I'm always like, do this, do that, or I'm trying to take care of something, that there actually is some place time, some engagement, some talking between the children and myself. Um, so that's two. A third one, I would think, for, and I'm most of these, I think, are general for most parents, is making sure that you are worrying that you're doing the right thing. So what you're saying is correct, what you're saying is truthful, that you're being mindful, of their feelings, but also establishing boundaries and setting guidelines, for certain behaviors or certain routines or things you're trying to do. So you worry a lot about whether, like, did I say that right? Was I too mean? Was I too harsh? Am I too lenient? Things of that nature.
So teaching, basically.
Teaching, yeah.
Okay. So one, time management, two, quality time, and three would be right teaching or accurate teaching,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you
Yeah,
believe
doctrine.
huh?
I would say like doctrine.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So do you believe that those are the top three problem areas or stressful problem areas for most parents?
I think so. I think outside of like, if you take it away and think specifically relating to your children, of course, like other things are going to be like, money, work life balance. But if you do things specifically in relation to your children, absolutely.
Okay. So let's start with the first stressor. What is so stressful about time management when it comes to parenting?
Well, for me, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I'm a stay at home mom, but I do also have my own business. So right now, school is out, so both my children are home. So rather than just having my youngest who is home, who always requires so much attention, because he's not in school, so I'm his only friend. I'm his only source of entertainment outside of like his toys and a tablet or something. But now I also have the oldest one who's home. So they can kind of play together, but also it's like, hey, like I want to do this and I want to do that. And how do I manage having both of my children home while trying to manage my business? Because my business is based in handmade things. So my hands are busy. My attention is focused on creating what I'm creating for my business, while there's two children who are like, hey, I'm hungry. Hey, can we go outside? Hey, like, oh, what are you doing? Like, can I touch that too? Like, I want to touch your stuff. And, well, can you teach me how to do that? Or like, mom, well, I want to watch this movie. Or um, like the other day, like, my oldest child, she's only 9, but she was on something. She was like, can I watch this Stephen King movie? And I'm like, no. I'm trying to, so I have to keep an eye out and be mindful of those type of things. I can't just be like, okay, like just watch a tablet and whatever. I'm also very mindful of like what my children are watching. So I also have to like listen out, like at the same time, besides listening for like if anyone falls or gets hurt. If you're watching TV, of listening like, hey, I don't really know if I like the message that's in that show. I need to also keep an ear out and be mindful of that type of things. And so outside of that, you also have to go grocery shopping. You need to take time to budget and pay your bills. I also have a husband. So, you know, at that time, to at least talk to him sometime during the day, to sit down with him. And then you make dinner and you make lunch and all this stuff. And so it's like, how do you give yourself to 3 people? I also have a dog. So how do you give yourself to 3 people and your fur baby while also trying to manage, handling, your business, which requires you to be hands on for hours at a time. And so the time management issue comes in there.
Okay. I noticed you said something interesting. I'm just taking notes just to hit
Mm-hmm.
the key areas. You said that you have to take care of 3 adults and the fur baby. I did not hear you mention yourself in that. So talk to
Mm-hmm.
me a little bit about how, having so many things to do and not having enough time to focus on yourself and to manage your own stress and to practice wellness, how that impacts your stress.
Um, it impacts a lot in probably like insomnia, of course, anxiety and depression, restlessness, um, just basic ennui, exhaustion. And so, but for me personally, my business is something that I enjoy that I decide to monetize. So in part way, it's a little bit of me taking care of myself, but for the most part, the other things you're talking about of like having some time to like sit down and enjoy a show and stuff like that, that is hard because for me, it may be like an hour show that I enjoy and I'm trying to watch, but with 2 children, especially a small child, this hour show may take me like 2 hours, 2.5 hours sometimes just to watch the show because I'm stopping and I'm doing this and I'm rewinding and I'm going back and I have to get up and handle this and that or whatever. I'm potty training, so there's there's all kinds of things going on at one time, and so with that, sometimes of like the moments of like even me trying to take a bath, I have to go into the bathroom and I have to lock the door because
Mm.
if not, in the middle of my bath, children who have already bathed, they'll be like, "Oh, we're taking a bath," and they're coming and taking out clothes, and I'm like, "No, I'm taking a bath." And they're like, "No, I'm gonna take a bath too." I'm like, "You already took a bath." They're like, "Yeah, but I didn't take a bath with you." Yeah.
Okay, so with all of your day-to-day responsibilities and the things that you have to take care of, the when you don't find the time to manage everything, well, you don't balance your time, how
Mm-hmm.
does the stress impact your body specifically? What parts of your body feel the impact of stress? Is it your
Mm.
back? Is it your headache? Is your appetite? Is it not sleeping? Like what? How does it impact your body in your mind?
I think absolutely the not sleeping is the biggest one, because you're going to lay down thinking about all the things that you didn't accomplish today and what you could have accomplished and whether you can fit that into your schedule tomorrow and to accomplish them. And so instead of laying down relaxing, you're laying down and you're planning, you're rescheduling, you know, you're trying to figure out time management for the next day of what you need to do and what you need to accomplish along with whatever you're going to do with that next day. um and then as far as like aches and pains, like absolutely, like you know, you for me it's a pain like in my neck and my shoulders. That's the thing that gets the most tight, that's the most knots, um of just like, I guess where all my stress is stored is in my neck. So most of the time, a lot of times when I'm busy, I'm doing something, I feel my neck tight, and I'm usually doing this, you know, all through the day to kind
Okay.
of release that tension. That's where I store it. Um, but yeah, I think also, as far as your body, you do in a sense lose. Sorry, that's my dog. So, you do in a sense lose your appetite a little bit. Um, and most of it has to do with like maybe if you're mismanaging your time, you're probably so focused in whatever you're doing and trying to catch up that you forget to eat. You're not taking care of yourself in that way, so you're not eating. In a sense, you just completely forget about, you know, feeding yourself.
Okay. So, what do you do once you start feeling all of the symptoms of not managing your stress? Is that like I'll take 5 minutes away, I'll go into the bathroom, I will continuously work while twisting my neck? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what does that look like? Is it mom needs an hour to herself? Is it going to sleep, waking up early to take care of this? When it is time, when you feel the stress impacting your body, what is the time limit from when you feel it to when you actually stop and do something about the stress?
Mm. I think mine mostly because I'm a stay-at-home mom, so mine's gonna have to do with like housework and children. So I don't necessarily like get a chance to be like put the children away in a shelf or something and go do something. But I do just take a chance of now that they're both home, they can kind of entertain themselves. And my um, oldest child, at least she knows not to touch the stove and open the door for strangers, right? So I can
Hmm.
at least say like, hey, I'm gonna go in the room and lay down for a second. Now that doesn't necessarily mean I got a lot of time to do that by myself,
Uh-huh.
because usually like it will eventually do, you know, like you're kind of laying there and somebody's like, hey mom, and they're like, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden everybody's in your room in your bed. But it does it does also give me a chance to just like lay down and not do anything with my children, just kind of like there at the same time. But if I can manage to work it out with my husband, because he also works from home, if he has some free time to say, okay, well, I'm gonna go, my favorite thing, my favorite hobby is a nap, just period. So if I say, hey, like I'm gonna go take a nap, and he has, you know, he can take over for the children, then that's my thing. Of just being like, okay, I'm going for a nap, or we just do like family nap time. Like that's it. It's a wrap. Family nap time. Everybody lay down. It's done. Um, all things off. I don't care what you're in the middle of. Like lay down. Everybody's gonna take a nap.
Okay. So it's not necessarily something that if it's happening, you can get to it right away. You can make it a priority to go, hey, how can I serve you all if mommy is depleted? So it's like no hard stop. I can't in this moment right now. I feel a little tension in my neck, but I can't just
Mm.
stop what I'm doing and go tend to that for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's I'm circling my neck as I'm making dinner. Is that what I'm
Yeah.
hearing you saying?
Yeah, because I'm not
Okay.
gonna be able to just leave dinner. Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
gonna be able to just leave dinner. But also, like, I've come to the point now of like so many years of just being like, I'm just not gonna get to it today.
Right.
So I have in my stress management of just being like, I just have to let it be what it is. I'm not gonna get to it today. So I just, you know, try to manage it better for tomorrow, or to say, hey, like, is this important or is this urgent? If it isn't, then I can do it at a later time. And so I don't have to be stressed. The person in me, like, I like to have things like in a certain time, and maybe I want to be like very rigid of get it done and do it a specific way, or this and that. I want to do this and that in a day. Um, and so sometimes setting those guidelines for myself, it's only a guideline that I made, it's not true to anything because I don't specifically have a 9 to 5 job. So unless it's an appointment, any time I set for a particular task is just, a false sense of time because I don't really have to stick to that task at that time. So sometimes in that, it's just letting myself know, like, this doesn't have to be done by 3 o'clock, like, or this doesn't have to be done today. Like, I can do as much as I can today and pick it back up tomorrow or another day. The time I set for myself is just exactly that time that I set for myself. It doesn't have a strict standard of when it has to be done.
Okay. Okay. Do you feel like that you are managing? Okay. No. Do you feel like you are combating today's stress before the day end and not roll it over into, so when you wake up, do you have yesterday's stress on you or last week's stress on you or last month's stress on you? Are you making it a priority that within that day, even if you can't stop right now to feed, massage your neck or take a break, are you making it a priority that within those 24 hours, no worries, within those 24 hours, you are de-stressing so you're not carrying yesterday's, next week, or last week, or last year's stress with you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. um, for me, especially because, like, say, like, for my business, if I have orders and I'm trying to get it done by a certain time, but I didn't, I want to produce something by a certain time for a customer. I said I would produce something in a certain time for a customer. Um, and again, it's a business that's hands on, but I also have children and I'm working from home. So I don't get to just go somewhere. I don't have an office where I get to just sit there for 8 hours and focus specifically on my business. I have to do that around my everyday life. And sometimes I don't get as far in that as I would like. So that does absolutely roll over into the next day of me going to sleep and being like, okay, well, how can I accomplish that tomorrow? And waking up and being like, I have to get this done today. Absolutely. For most other things, like, not really. Like, if it's not really a stress, I might be like, man, like, I need to go grocery shopping. I know that yesterday, but I didn't get to it. So I'm like, I have to do it today. But it's not necessarily a stressor. It's just like a reminder. But when things with my business and things like that I have to accomplish, absolutely. I'm not good at letting that stress be settled for today and waking up new. Absolutely not. I'm waking up with that the next morning for sure. I'm probably waking up an hour earlier than I need to because I'm trying to go ahead and handle that stress before the rest of my day and all the other stress comes in.
Wow. Okay. So your number two stressor, you said, was quality time. Now, in my line of work, we know that stress is the number one reason why people don't have deep connections, why they don't spend quality time. We're spending plenty of time, but it's not quality time, right?
Mm-hmm.
The stress about being rejected, the stress about, finding the right people, the stress about being seen or picked on. It's just so many stresses that come along with connecting, developing a deep bond, and spending quality time with people. So tell me how stress impacts, the quality time you spend with your relationships, as far as your husband, your children, and most importantly, your personal time, because you have a relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How is stress impacting your quality time with yourself as well?
That's interesting because I never really considered, like, stress being the thing that's impacting my quality time. I would mostly say, like, oh man, like, it's time management or prioritizing, right? That's impacting it. But I wouldn't necessarily, if someone asked me, I would never list it as, oh, stress is, impacting the quality time. But if I think about it, you know, if I'm being mindful that I'm like, okay, my child's been asking me to play with them, and I've been doing this for a while, so I'm gonna be mindful to go and play with them. I may be a little stressed about stepping away from the work that I'm doing, to engage and play, because I'm still in the back of my mind thinking about all the work that I have to do, right? Um, and so sometimes that can kind of leave you not completely present in the moment, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Um, so if I consider it that way, I would think of it that way. It's like, even though I'm being mindful to have this quality time, I haven't completely let go of the thing that I'm
Yes.
supposed to be doing. So it
Yes.
stressed me in that way. Mm.
Yeah, so you're not connecting and bonding on a deep level. You're spending time, but it's not quality time, because if you're in next week's bills or in
Mm.
tomorrow's job problems, or you're not present for the moment, and the person doesn't feel like you're present, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how does just being a warm body there, how does that impact your relationship, as opposed to when you're mindful of,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm here physically, but let me also be here mentally and emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And being mindful of that is kind of like, again, like I said, or even anybody who's working, when you're working, if you're working from home and someone comes up to you or your children comes up to you, of course, sometimes you feel like, okay, I can multitask if I'm going to keep working and I'm also going to answer your questions, but I'm focusing on my attention and here at work. And so when you're doing that, I have to be mindful at times to stop what I'm doing, sit down and turn and actually engage and look at my children when they're talking to me. Because to me, I don't want to think of like so many, and they're kids, they're not coming to talk to me about anything important. My youngest wants to tell me about a fire truck and what color it is and something. And my oldest wants to tell me a really terrible joke. If you have children, children who are like 10 and below, they have horrible jokes and terrible stories, and they're super long, and they don't have their thoughts all together. So they're like, and then, and then, and then. But, even that, I don't want it to be like, hey, you're telling me a story, and I'm like, but all my attention's focused here. I don't want, like, your vision to always be the side of my head in my profile. So even taking moments of being like, okay, I'm going to set that down and I'm going to go and I'm going to look actually at my children's faces and in their eyes when they're talking to me and be like, okay, like, yeah. And then be like, all right, like, the story's done? Okay. you know? Um, and sometimes it's like, even then, sometimes of trying to like contain your stress too, of being like, man, okay, well, cool story, man. Okay, I'm gonna get back to work now. Of like establishing like, hey, like, we're done. Like, I'm gonna get back to work now. Like, I took a second, I engaged with you. Okay, now mommy has to get back to work and going back to work and doing what you're doing.
Okay. Most importantly, your relationship with yourself. How does stress impact the quality time with the relationship you have with yourself? Because again,
Mm-hmm.
you talk about you can go take a bath, but if you have children banging on the door, are you giving yourself quality time?
Right. I Me personally, if I want quality time with myself, I have to do it late at night when everyone's asleep, or very early in the morning when everyone's asleep. So to get that, I have to take the initiative to find those moments when I'm by myself that I can truly like delve in, enjoy, and do exactly what I want to do or what I want to accomplish, or what I like to do. So I will take the initiative to do that. So most often for me, it's like at nighttime. It's like, okay, hey, I'm like, it's 8:30, heads in beds, like, it's done, everything's shut down. You in the middle of eating what? No, you're not. Like, it's done. Like, go to sleep. You still wanted something to eat. Well, you should have ate that earlier. Too bad. Go to sleep. So I'm just kidding, but yeah, I'm pretty much just like, hey, like, that's also like, now that's usually when my bath time is too, so I can guarantee that I'm not bothered. And it's just taking the time to just find that space by myself. But I do have to make sacrifices in that. So I may have to stay up a little bit later to have that time, or I may have to wake up a little bit earlier to have that time.
Yeah, so I've been looking at, I still watch Parenting Info. It's my birth control dose. So I
Mm.
still watch Parenting Info. And I was watching a video maybe a couple of days ago, and it was just talking about the mommy trap. how, you have so much to do in a day for so many people that you wind up staying up late just to kind of get some moments to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And although, they're worth it, the way you start off your next day is not, because if your moments to yourself is 12:30, 1 o'clock, and you have a kid that wake up at 6, you
Mm-hmm.
only have 5 hours of sleep. And so
Mm-hmm.
now you start your day off with, not enough sleep, and you running on little fumes throughout the day. And then about time 12 midnight come that same day, or rolling over to the next day, you're trying to stay up and get your time again and start the cycle all over again. And so
Absolutely.
sleep deprivation is a real thing for moms because they're not necessarily finding enough time for themselves, which leads into what you were just talking about, the inverse, which is setting your day off with time to yourself. Instead of it being, you're the last on the list, you the last person that who needs are met. You have the opportunity to inverse it and meet your needs first, so that you have enough
Mm-hmm.
time and energy to give what's left over to your family. And not saying what's left as if you use 98% and you only have 2% left, but like, you fill up your cup in the morning, you make sure that it's overflowing, and with the overflow you can feed everyone else, instead of running on a depleted cup because you only got 5 hours of sleep. You wake up and then they just deplete you throughout the day, and by the end of the day, midnight, you're trying to fill your cup, but you only at 20%. You go to sleep, and then the process starts all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things that I recognized even without children, because I realized, like, oh, I'm waking up every morning, and the reason why I'm getting up is to go to work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
to make someone else's dream come true. I don't want to be there on time, but then about time I go to work, I do all of these things. I have brain fatigue. I get home and I'm tired. I can't really do the things for myself. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
practice adaptive self-care. I wind up doing maladaptive, which means like turning on TV, scrolling on social media, eating bad foods.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I realized that in doing that, I wasn't necessarily helping myself, and I really wasn't bringing my best self to the world. So the best thing to do was to wake up before I give anything to anyone else, to give it to myself first, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard to do that when you have little people pulling on you, but it seems like it's more mandatory when you have so many people who are constantly, they need you. They need things from you, which means you need to always be in a state of overflow and not depletion.
Mm. Good point.
Okay, and the last one you talked about is teaching, which I believe out of the time management, the quality time, the teaching is the hardest part of this, just
Mm-hmm.
because even if you are religious, which obviously you are, you still will have moments where you're not so sure if what you're teaching or how you're showing up or what
Mm-hmm.
you're giving of yourself is enough, or if it's effective, or if it's going to produce beautiful people here,
Mm-hmm.
not just I'm raising children to adults, but I want to raise decent human beings. I want to raise global citizens who are considerate of other people. And you just never know. There isn't a book, it isn't necessarily a parenting bible where
Mm-hmm.
it's like you do A through Z, you guaranteed to have a Christ-like Jesus kid, like,
Right.
or the next, Dr. Ben Carson, or scientist, or
Mm-hmm.
Mae Jemison. Like, it's no real guidelines per se. So everyone is just kind of trying to figure it out. Does this work? Didn't it? It didn't work. What can I adjust? And in that, just learning something new and not necessarily knowing what the long-term consequences are produces a lot of stress, because you
Mm-hmm.
just really don't know. You could think that what you're doing is working and it will produce quality, but then there's moments where you're like, is it
Yeah. Right.
working?
Yeah. You're just like, or it's just like we've all been hard headed children before, right? And thrown what our parents said away, and so you're just like, hey, like, is this actually like sticking, like, because maybe your child makes the same mistake, and you're like, did I not say it right? Did I not explain it right? Or like, do you just don't hear what I say? Like, what is it going on there? But absolutely, it's kind of like, you take your own experience, you know If you, were lucky enough to grow up with your own parents, you take your experiences, both good and bad, and so hopefully you try to, uh, you know, um, be better. You think of the things that you did not like or you did like as a parent, and you might apply them to your children. Um, And then also you have to think of too, like our childhoods were very different than the childhoods that our kids have now. There's so much technology. And also with new technology, there's so much more information fed to us about what exactly is happening in the world and outside. So we're not letting our children outside to play as much anymore, because we're very much aware of the dangers that are outside, now. Um, so you have this new thing of like children who have technology and access to all this information, but who are also like inside more, who might have smaller like social circles because they're not, playing outside or things like that. So you also have like more like children who are in more programs because us as parents, you're worried about like, hey, I can't only have my kids socialize at school, like they can't be in the house all the time. So now you have kids that are in like more programs. Like my kids are doing karate and they're gonna do art camp this summer. Um, Besides like other like virtual classes that we have them do. So it's a whole now as parents too, we have to navigate like a whole different spectrum of things because before when we were little, it was like stranger danger. But now we're also being like, hey, that's a real issue you have to worry about online. Like I have to tell my children, like, you're not allowed to like comment things online. You're not allowed to have social media yet. You're not allowed. We don't post, our children online. You can't have an Instagram or all that type of things because you're too young and the internet is not a safe place. This is a new thing that a new landscape that you have to navigate as parents as well. Um, so, all the time you're wondering, like, like, what do I do and how do I explain it? And for me, I guess the best thing is just to be truthful and honest. Even in those moments where I get really overwhelmed or overstimulated with my children. And anyone who's a parent, there may be a moment where you just like go off on your children because they just overstimulated or overwhelmed you for the day and you're just going in. And there's some moments where I have to stop and be like, okay, mine was a lot. I'm sorry. Like my dad. But y'all are getting on my nerves. Like next time, like so we don't have this again, I need y'all to tone that down. Like chill out. Um and also just being mindful of the time that you have to be like you have to look at your kids and like you have to let them see you just like close your eyes and be like, you're getting on my nerves. And to them, sometimes you be like, you feel bad because you like you don't want your children to see like, hey, you're a lot, but also like you have to let them see like I'm human too. Like I get on your nerves, you get on my nerves too. Like this not all love. You're not all peaches and cream all the time. Like I explained to my daughter, like, hey, like she's like, oh well, like my brother gets on my nerves. I'm like, you get on my nerves, but I still have to deal with you all the time, so you don't get to, dismiss your brother. I still have to deal with you, like so yeah, it's just there's no you can read whatever books, any book that you have, there's going to be a book that counters it that says the complete opposite. um there's people are human and complex, and when you have children you learn that they're born as their own person already. And they're each very different, and you also have to be mindful of that. The truth of the matter is you approach each of your children different and when they're born. Your children are never going to get the exact same parent. That's just not possible. They can be raised in the same house, but your firstborn is your test dummy child, unfortunately. And so usually they're more baby, they're more catered to. You probably surrounded them and insulated them a lot more than you will with your second one, because you already learned that like, oh, babies or children are not as fragile as I thought. Um, and so that's the truth of it too. And now you have to also navigate like, well, why did they get to do that and I didn't get? It's just like it's just all a learning process, and there's nothing you can do about it. You will be learning for the rest of your life, or as long as you have children. When you're 80 and they're 50, you're gonna have to deal with your 50-year-old child and their 50-year-old problems. And so, it's just like it's a stressor, but also it's just something I think you just have to accept. But I think it's also you should be mindful of like, I feel like for people who are parents, you need to be mindful of exactly what type of parent you are. And I say this all the time. If you can go on YouTube and watch an hour video explaining about whatever movie you like, or explaining about how to, whatever tutorial you watch, then you can also watch some videos about children and their emotional stability and emotional intelligence and autonomy and things like that. And coming up with your own parenting plan of how you engage your children, how you deal with their very big emotions, how you deal with discipline, how you deal in rewards, you know, things like that, dealing with school. Um, why would you invest more time learning how to do your job, or learning how to fix your car, or learning how to do your nails or your hair, than you would invest in learning methods in raising human beings who are completely dependent on you without having asked that to be the case?
Okay. So, what is the relationship? I guess we'll end on this question.
Mm-hmm.
What is your relationship to stress now, and what would you like your relationship with stress to be?
Um, my relationship with stress now, we are simpatico. um, I don't know. Because many people, I'm new here on your live, but if any people watch any other videos that we have together, I live in a world of delusion. So in my mind, I'm not stressed. I'm just living life and things are good. Um, if I take me out of my delusional state, I'll have to really address it. And I will say, like, um, I'm very very blessed in our situation. Like I said, I'm a stay at home mom. I know that's a big blessing. I know a lot of people don't get to do that. And so I get to stay and be like the main one to raise my kids. I'm the main one who like takes them to school, picks them up, takes them to their activities, things like that. And while those things may be stressors to me, those are things that I've decided that I wanted to be stressors because I wanted to be very involved in my family and the raising of my children. So it's not, it's a good stress, I guess you'd say, for me personally. Um, Same thing with my business. It's a good stress. Because if I didn't have any business, I would have nothing to be stressed about. So, so I think it's a, you know, pretty good relationship. Other than that, you're my only friend. I don't go out.
Mhm.
Exactly. I don't go out. I live in the country. So I sit on my back porch and I crochet and I drink cool drinks and I watch the birds, and do country ish, like burn stuff and fish. Um, so, so, um, I'm very fortunate in that regard for me. I feel like I don't have any stressors outside of the typical. I'm not particularly stressed about, uh, you know, schools for my children, or um, finances or car problems. Both me and my husband work from home. We barely use our car. Um, Things that like that. So I can't speak for everyone. I know my situation is unique. Um, but that's, you know, us making certain decisions to make our life as simple as possible to relieve those stressors. Same as I know for you, you know, your life is kind of like as simple as possible to relieve those stressors. And one stressor you didn't want was kids. I
Amen.
feel you, pounded on that. You know,
I make
we,
smart decisions.
yeah.
I'm kidding.
Smart decision. Make a smart decision. I mean,
I'm
you
kidding.
know, we grew up together. This was supposed to be flipped. I don't know how it got
I
reversed.
know.
I have no idea how that got reversed, but it did. And that just goes to show you life never happens the way you want it to,
Right.
until you handle it all in stride. Um, and so, again, I say, like, it's making, being mindful of that, like, the really big stressors are the things that really doing, taking action to get rid of those. And so for me and my husband, it was not living in a big city because we had children. Um, Living in a smaller place that we can afford. Um, we don't buy nice new things. We don't have a new car. We had the same car forever. If something wrong, we fix it, and we usually fix it ourselves. Um, yeah, and we don't really go to restaurants. The things that we do spend money on are technology, like tablets and stuff. And things for our kids. But even with our kids, it's like I take my kids to the Dollar Tree and I'm like, ball out, kid. What you want this, you want that. Although you gotta be a little careful. They got that little dollar plus sign now, so they might pick up something that's $5, and you're like, I was looking for $1.25.
Yeah.
Not three $5 things, because now they got all kind of water guns and stuff. I gotta be careful now. It used to be easier to let my kids ball out, but now I gotta actually watch them. But it's those type of things. It's just like every now and then I get my kids like the really big thing they want. Like Aurora wanted the telescope one year,
Aw.
something like that. But other than that, it's like finding their interests. Aurora likes art and stuff. I don't need to buy whatever. I can go to the Dollar Tree and buy some color pencils. And she got into origami. I couldn't origami paper. They give you like a little package, like $3. I had a pack of like 200 sheets. It wasn't the right size. I went to the little printing place. I'm like, can you cut this, please? They cut it for me for free. And now she has a bunch of origami paper for $1.25, which would that much would have cost me like $15 if
Right.
I bought the packs. So, it's those type of things of just being like, hey, I'm not going to stress myself about money. I'm not going to stress myself about cars. I'm not going to buy a new car ever again in my life. I'm the type of person, I'm not going to get the newest phone. I don't want to pay for it. That's a stressor for me. That
Me
iPhone
too.
bill. Yeah. Also, like, I'm not that tech savvy. I got into my mom stage now. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, on TikTok, these videos, they're live in the way you are because me and her don't know how to do technology. We don't know how to edit anything. So it's just going to be the way it is. I
It
can't
took
take none of this noise out the background.
it took us about 10 minutes to figure out how to get both of us on the screen, but we
Watch
did
a
it.
whole YouTube tutorial to do that, you know? Okay? But that's a stressor. It's not in my zone of competence. So I'm not going to try to
No.
figure it out. I'm in the point in my life where I'm going to pay somebody else to do it
Mhm.
because I can't afford that stress for
Right.
2 hours trying to figure out how to do something.
That part.
So is that part. So it's just like figuring out your stressors, the very big ones, and how to eliminate them. And like I said, for us,
Delegate them.
we can't live in a big city. We didn't like those influences on our children. We wanted a smaller school, for my child. We know the teachers, we know the students. We live in a small city that my husband grew up in. So most of the people are her cousins. Like like very small city. Like I said, so getting back to the original one or the point is that I think you're making all of us have stress. As a parent, as a 30 something, you have very unique stresses to your life that are brand new. There's no specific right answers to when it comes to your children. So
Mhm.
that's going to be hard. But where you want the direction you want to go in your parenting. Um, and so work on that and get rid of the stressors in your family life and your personal stressors that get in the way of that. And as far as your children, you just got to be in the moment. I think being in the moment is the best way to get some away from some of those stressors in regards to like teaching and quality time. For yourself, I don't know. I ain't figured it out yet. So,
Well, thank you for being so open and transparent
for
and,
sure.
sharing your problems or your woes with parenting and
Mm,
stress. I think that it will help so many people out there. It is a perspective that I cannot talk from.
mm,
So, um, it could have very much been an oversight because I could have, gone years and years and years and years the rest of my life and never talk about stress and parenting because it's not necessarily a reality
mm.
for me. Although I know that there are so many people who could benefit from just hearing about your stressors as a parent, as a stay at home mom, and
Yeah.
just how you're struggling trying to find balance. But ultimately you're enjoying your choices and
Mm.
you're making the best out of them, right?
So next time, are you going to talk to a dad about what his stresses are as a parent?
Um, you think Chris will join me?
Maybe I could ask about it. But
That's
I
the
think that's
only
also
dad I
part of
know.
it. Yeah, I know. I know. But like me too. Like in this day and age, people don't have kids. I don't know where I messed up along the way. But nobody we know has any children. I know of
Right.
none. So and again, I was the one that all y'all was like, don't have kids, we'll be young, we'll be friends forever. And y'all guys were like, I'm gonna get married and I'm gonna do this. And I was like, no, don't do it. And I'm the only one who did it.
Yep.
So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, very interesting. But yeah, talk to Chris. I think there might be a unique perspective to be heard from talking from a dad and what his stresses are as a parent. And then, of course, talking to, if you find one, a woman who does work and what her specific stressors are as a parent. They're all going to be very unique to that. So,
These are very great conversations that I think need to be had. We should discuss more about the stressors of life and how it impact different areas of your life. We kind of just think of stress as this overall looming thing, but we both know that there's good and bad stress, and what you think
mm-hmm,
about it really matters. And so, how you manage it, eliminate it, delegate it, address it, it is so important to your overall health and well-being. And that's why playing is so important. We make sure that we play weekly, or at least we try. We do the
mm-hmm,
nailed it challenges. We also do our book reviews. We talk and chat and do other things to try to bring fun, play, laughter, joy into our lives. Um, that's a big part of stress management. And as you're adulting, especially as a parent, it's very hard to come out of context when you have to be responsible for your little ones, and then in the same breath they're like, come and play with me. It's like,
mm-hmm.
you take it off
Yeah,
one hat, putting on the other. It's,
yeah,
do I have the energy to do that right now? When
yeah. And
the
sometimes it's hard,
reality,
like as a whole adult with your thing, to be like, I'm going to pretend to be a train and then when you do get into it, they're like, "Mom, you're doing it wrong," and it's like, "Why am I here? Why you even ask me to play?"
and the thing is, even though we really don't want to do it, is exactly when we should be doing it, right? We don't want to laugh, we don't want to play, we don't want to get down and be silly, use our imagination. But
Mm-hmm.
in those moments is you recognizing, because I don't want to do it and I'm feeling some kind of way about doing it, it probably means that my stress levels are extremely high, and maybe I should
Mm,
engage in this fully, because it
mm,
will have so many, benefits. So many times I go out to places and I'm there without children, but I'm watching the adults not partake with the children. Like, for instance, I love me a good bouncy house. I will go by myself, okay?
mm-hmm,
And I'm watching all of the parents on the sidelines on their phone, and the children out there having a good time. I go to different places and it's like children here, parents over there, and I get it. Like, you've taken them there because you feel like this is a break. It's a must needed break from them. It's a
mm-hmm,
must needed break from the responsibilities. But just to do yourself some justice, use that opportunity to play, not just to escape, but play is the number one tool, solution, technique that you can use to manage your stress. So going out there and jump. If you want to be away from your kid, go on the other side of the jumpy house and jump on your own. But scrolling through social media is maladaptive when you're doing it, 2, 3, 4, 6 hours a day. It impacts your self-esteem, self-worth, and is really inducing more stress, especially in the society that we live in, because people just
mm-hmm.
put their best self out on social media, and you feel stressed. You're like, oh, Susan children are so well behaved. Why are her children heathens? And really,
Yeah,
Susan be beating them kids down to get what she needs.
true, very true. Also, I want to say, like, I get what you're saying, and that's real cute. But children play in a way that my 36-year-old back in these
Right,
can't handle. So
right.
I would love to be that. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be in the bouncy house for like 2 minutes. You got like a good 21, 22 hops. And then I'm fine. And they're like, no, keep going. And then once I keep going and I hit that bounce wrong, and my knees crack and I fall and I throw my back out. Like you said, I've hurt my self-esteem and my self-respect and my worth. And somebody caught it on video. And now these 8-year-olds are trying to help me roll off the bounce house because my back hurt. And so now I got this new stress in my life,
No, no.
that and that digital footprint is real, so somebody decide to upload it on TikTok, Instagram Live.
No. So first off, play is a muscle. It's a muscle you build. If you go out there and you can only jump for 20, 30 seconds, it's because you don't play enough. You need to build them. It's like going to the gym and you try to lift that 20 pounds and you struggling. And you keep at it. And one day you go in there, you pick it up, you like, you know what I'm saying? That's what play is like. So the more
but
you
I don't get many chances at a trampoline or a bounce house. You're right. But I don't get many chances at a trampoline or bounce house to build that muscle. Since I don't want today to be the day that my children remember and laugh at 10, 50 years. We're like, you remember that time mommy got on that bouncy house and she threw her whole back out? And then people came and the little kids was trying to pull her by her feet, trying to pull her through the little hole in the bounce house. I don't want that story.
No, I did that. That was that like a year ago. I was in the bouncy house. I'm like, all right, I had me a good time. I wasn't. I was at the trampoline park. I was out there for a good 45 minutes. I was like, ooh, I'm done. That was a good workout. That was fun. I feel relaxed. So I'm about to get off, and my niecey poo came and jumped on my back, and I heard it say, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I was done. No.
See, and like, okay. So remember, like, people always make the jokes, like in our generation and so many like cartoons and stuff, quicksand was like a real possible danger, right? And so you get older and you go, look, quicksand is not like a real thing you can encounter in real life. But it was in so many movies and stuff that you're like, oh no, quicksand. And so me now as a whole adult, my new personal fear at the trampoline park and all these things is the ball pit. Because that is the equivalent of quicksand for adults. And if you've never been in the foam pit as an adult, don't do it. Don't try it. Don't want to experience it. It is literal quicksand.
It is.
And you're going to extend all your energy. Yes. You're going to be sweaty. You're going to be embarrassed. Yes. By the time you get to the edge,
you're going to have some muscles.
Just barely have enough energy to just It ain't going to be cool. It's not going to look great. You literally going to throw your leg up and use all the thing you can to roll out of the foam and lay there for another 20, 30 seconds trying to get yourself together while everybody laughing because you've been struggling 5, 10 minutes trying to get out the foam pit.
But with practice, you could come out that foam pit like Halle Berry, Ariel, like, and just all the balls.
You as an adult, you would need a good year and a half to get yourself together to be able to be like, oh, I fell in the foam pit, no problem. What, I got out. Because that stuff is quicksand. You literally need to lay flat and expand your weight across of it and slowly shimmy your way over to the edge and then slowly just I'm telling you, like, no.
All right, look, I have videos of everything Paris is just saying. I've been stuck in a ball pit. I've been stuck on a trampoline. I have pictures, and if I can get 10 people to, I don't know, Paris, what? Comment about what?
Yeah, comment. Listen, show me the pictures.
Huh?
Say pics or never happened. Tell them comment. Pics or never happened. Then you upload the pictures and the videos.
Okay. If I get 10 comments, I'll put up one of the videos. And it can't just be like, hey. No, like questions or real comments or feedbacks or suggestions. If I get 10, I will post one video. If I get more than 10, like 25, I will put both videos and let y'all laugh at me, even though it's humiliating. That's why I never posted them. But I'll let you laugh at me if you can post 10 questions about stress management or comments or feedback.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you want to say before I close out the video and give my last little speech?
I'm very happy you have the videos and I don't. Um, the Lord has blessed me in such ways that there's no digital footprint of when it happened, because luckily Aurora was small and she wasn't able to control a camera yet. Because the way my child roasts me now, she would have had that video and she would have been calling all her grandparents and showing her friends at karate. So I'm very thankful, and I'm blessed for that. And so y'all leave those comments so y'all can see Ebony's videos though.
And you know I was juicy at that time, so it's gonna look real funny. I mean, I'm still a little juicy, but I was juicy, girl, so it's gonna be real funny.
Again, which is why I was like, yo, you be at the trampoline doing stuff, and I'm like, go ahead. I'm gonna be over here. I'm gonna watch your coat. I'm gonna watch your drinks, and I'm gonna let you do that. Because I accidentally pulled my shoulder because I left my arm up too long trying to shake my arms. That's how old I am. Okay?
You are out of practice, ma'am. Get it
I'm
together.
way out of practice. Okay? Way out of practice. Okay? So I'm not getting on no trampoline. I twisted my ankle getting in the car. You think I'm gonna get in the trampoline?
Girl, get it together.
This is real life. Real
Get it
life.
together. You are out of play
I'm that
practice.
clumsy.
You got to get it together, okay?
I'm not uncoordinated. I twist my ankle getting into a car. Okay. Twist my ankle getting out of cars. A little hole. Didn't see it. So.
Oh my gosh. And I'm the clumsy one. All right. So it's been about 56 minutes. Wow. Normally I do this in about 15 minutes. So we had a great discussion today about stress and parenting. Don't forget to comment, leave us some questions. You can leave Paris some questions about parenting. If I get 10 or more, I'll put the embarrassing video up. Remember to go out there and play today. Play in every way. Play your favorite way. It is your responsibility to play. No one will benefit from it but you. So you have to go out there and play in your own way to make your day great. If you have any questions or concern, feel free to send me a message. And I am always around to answer your stress management questions. And just remember, I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. At some point, it was 12, then it was 2, and now today it's 5. So get with it. On Mondays. She busy. I mean, I'm doing what I can. Okay. So we will probably do some other, as you know, we have a YouTube and we do some videos and some play videos on YouTube. So check out our YouTube, and I will have Paris come and do maybe some deep breathing with us one week, or some laughter yoga. Since now we have figured out.
I've never tried laughing yoga.
Huh?
I've never done laughing yoga.
Ooh, so maybe we'll do it Friday.
Okay.
So now that we figured out how to put 2 people on the screen, we evolved.
Hey, tech savvy.
Yeah. Ow. See, learning. Yeah. Get woofers. So
pull up on me.
We will be back. I will definitely be back on Wednesday, but we're going to have Paris join us for some laughter yoga, maybe on Friday or next Friday. Thank you so much, Work Life Warriors. Go out there and manage your stress. I hope this helps. Peace.
Bye, guys. Oh.